The snow fell softly on the evening of December 23rd, covering the quiet streets of Portland in a blanket of white. Sarah Mitchell sat alone at the bus stop, her thin coat doing little to protect her from the bitter cold. In her lap sat a worn leather bag containing everything she now owned in the world. Just 3 hours ago, she had been standing in the living room of the house she thought was her home. Her husband, Derek, had looked at her with eyes full of contempt as he spoke the words that shattered her world. "I want a family, Sarah. Real children, not adoption, not fertility treatments. I want my own kids, and you can't give me that. I've met someone else, someone who can." Sarah had stood there, frozen, as he placed her belongings in that single bag and opened the door. No discussion, no compassion. After 5 years of marriage, she was simply thrown out into the December cold. Now, sitting at the bus stop, Sarah hugged herself tightly. The shame burned hotter than any cold wind. She felt broken, defective, worthless. The medical diagnosis from 6 months ago echoed in her mind. Infertile. One word that had slowly poisoned her marriage until Derek had finally decided she wasn't worth keeping. The bus shelter offered little protection from the wind. Sarah watched the snow accumulate on the empty street, wondering where she would even go. Her parents had passed away years ago. Her closest friend had moved to California. She had no siblings. Derek had been her whole world, and now she had nothing. A black SUV drove slowly past the bus stop, then came to a gentle halt about 20 feet ahead. Sarah barely noticed it at first. She was too lost in her own thoughts, too consumed by the pain of rejection. The driver's door opened, and a tall man in a dark coat stepped out. He walked around to the sidewalk and paused, looking back toward the bus stop. Then, 3 small figures emerged from the back seat of the vehicle. 3 children, bundled in colorful winter coats, stood beside the man. Sarah could see them clearly now under the streetlight. 2 boys and a girl, ranging in age from about 4 to 8 years old. The man knelt down, speaking to them softly, his breath forming small clouds in the cold air. Sarah looked away, not wanting to intrude on their family moment. The sight of those children only reminded her of what she could never have. What Derek had rejected her for lacking. But then she heard footsteps approaching. Slow, deliberate footsteps crunching through the fresh snow. "Excuse me," a deep voice said gently. Sarah looked up to find the man standing a respectful distance away. He had kind eyes and snow gathering on his dark hair. Behind him, the 3 children watched with curious expressions. "Are you all right?" he asked. "It's a cold night to be waiting for a bus." Sarah tried to smile, but her face felt frozen. "I'm fine," she managed to say, though her voice cracked slightly. The man studied her for a moment, and Sarah saw something shift in his expression. Recognition, perhaps, not of her specifically, but of someone in trouble. Someone in pain. "My name is James Carter," he said, glancing back at the children before returning his attention to her. "Those are my kids. We were just heading home from picking up some last-minute Christmas shopping." Sarah nodded, unsure why he was telling her this. James took a careful step closer. "I don't mean to intrude, but I've seen that look before. That specific kind of lost. My wife. She passed away 2 years ago. I remember sitting alone in our car one night, wondering how I would possibly move forward. Wondering if I even could." Something in Sarah broke at his words. A tear escaped down her cheek before she could stop it. "I was thrown out today," she heard herself say. "My husband decided I wasn't good enough anymore. I can't have children, and he..." Her voice failed her. James was quiet for a long moment. Then he turned and gestured to his children. They came forward slowly, the oldest boy leading his younger siblings. "This is Michael, Emma, and Tommy," James said softly. 3 years ago, they were in foster care. Their birth parents couldn't take care of them anymore. I was single, grieving my wife who died before we could have children, and everyone told me I was crazy to adopt. Especially to adopt 3 kids at once. Sarah looked at the children, then back at James, confused about why he was sharing this. "I'm telling you this because family isn't about biology," James continued. "It's about choice. It's about love. It's about showing up every single day, even when it's hard. Your husband was wrong about you. Dead wrong. Your worth as a person, as a woman, has nothing to do with your ability to have biological children. More tears fell now, and Sarah didn't try to stop them. James pulled a business card from his pocket and held it out to her. I run a nonprofit organization that helps people get back on their feet after life crises. We provide temporary housing, job placement assistance, counseling. Whatever someone needs to rebuild. Sarah took the card with trembling fingers. But more than that, James said, his voice gentle but firm, I'm standing here tonight because I believe people cross our paths for a reason. It's Christmas in 2 days. You shouldn't be alone. You shouldn't be sitting at a bus stop wondering if you have any value. He paused, then spoke again. Come with me. Sarah's head snapped up. What? Come with me, James repeated. We have a guest room. My kids and I were about to go home and make Christmas cookies, which usually results in more flour on the floor than in the bowl. You can stay the night, have a warm meal, and tomorrow we can talk about getting you connected with resources. No strings attached, no pressure, just basic human kindness. Sarah stared at him, searching his face for any hint of ulterior motive. But all she saw was genuine concern and an outstretched hand. Why would you help me? She whispered. You don't even know me. James smiled sadly. Because 2 years ago, a stranger helped me when I was at my lowest. They told me to pass it forward when I could. And because my children are watching, and I want them to learn that we help people when they're hurting. That's what family does. That's what community does. The littlest boy, Tommy, stepped forward. We have hot chocolate, he offered shyly. With marshmallows. Despite everything, Sarah felt the smallest smile tug at her lips. She looked at the bus stop schedule, then at the empty street, then at this unexpected family standing in the snow. James wasn't offering her romance or a fairy tale ending. He was offering her something simpler and perhaps more valuable, a reminder that she mattered. That one person's rejection didn't define her worth. That kindness still existed in the world. Slowly, Sarah stood up. She picked up her bag and took a deep breath of the cold winter air. Okay, she said quietly. Thank you. As they walked toward the SUV, Emma slipped her small hand into Sarah's free hand. You can help us decorate cookies, the little girl said. Daddy's really bad at it. I heard that, James said with a laugh, holding open the car door. Sarah climbed into the warm vehicle, and as James started the engine and pulled away from that lonely bus stop, she realized something important. Her story wasn't over, it was simply beginning a new chapter. And sometimes, the families we find are even more precious than the ones we're born into. The snow continued to fall softly as they drove through the quiet streets toward home.